said, we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming up back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. On this week's episode, we go back in time, recalling some of our favorite video game memories. Join me and the rest of the crew from the Super BS Gamescast as we get together to go ahead and gather around the campfire to share some great stories, which we actually do have quite a few great stories. It didn't even fit into one episode. We actually had more than one episode that we taped for it. So yes, the first episode I'm dropping today here in just a little bit. So you'll be able to catch it this week right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos. Inside Sports, Fantasy Football. We're covering that for you. Hopefully you had a good weekend at Fantasy Football. This week, Chris Sardieri and I, hopefully we'll be back along, hopefully with Joe Soro, who should be happy that Pittsburgh came into my town right now, Las Vegas, Nevada. In fact, most of Pittsburgh you had gathered by the fact that there were more Pittsburgh fans in the stadium than Raiders fans, which is hilarious and tells you about the state of what the Raiders are here in Las Vegas. Yes, Pittsburgh came in and dusted off the Raiders really easily, so he's a happy guy. So hopefully you'll be able to join him, myself, and Chris Sardieri later this week on Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Don't forget as well our memberships. Always great to have our members. We've got some members right down below. Thank you to our members. I'm listing them out. We give you a big shout out each and every time out. It's right there for you, right below. Running through the crawl right there. Also, as well, you get emojis, badges. You got so many things that are right there for you. All the little emojis of us, badges of us. Also, as well, I've been giving you guys some inside scoop on not only when we go live on the air, but also as well, I put in so far our panelists NBA season predictions. The NBA season predictions for some of us have already been there. Today, I just dropped Laker Knicks season predictions right there. Members only get to see it. So you'll only be able to see it here right now for the next few days. If you're a member, you won't be able to see it until close to the season starts for everyone else. So if you want to become a member today and get the inside of what we're doing right here at the Lakers Fast Break, please. It's just $2.99 a month. It really helps us out. It helps us out right here on the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Don't forget also as well to like and subscribe. Hit that bell. Get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air. I've already started planning some interviews later this week with some great guests. Also as well, of course, Joe Soro will be mixed in there as well from time to time with his inevitable opinion. Of course, right here. But you won't be able to catch it unless you get that bell. And hit that subscribe button right here. It really helps us well for all of us here at the Lakers Fast Break. And don't forget to subscribe to our other great friends and follow our other great friends at, of course, John Costa's Clutch Talk and Lakers Corner. Also as well, of course, Lakers in 5, Empire Jeff TV, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, the John McCallion channel, Lakerholics crew who were on yesterday, Lakerholics.com, Stone Hansen, who I am dropping for audio listeners here in just a bit. He is Stone Hansen at report_court on Twitter. Follow all these great places. The legend, he was on last week. Go ahead and catch his YouTube channel. I'll put it in the description below. But yes, catch all these great people, all these great things that you can be a part of and you can help us out today. But of course, please like and subscribe right here at the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Well, Joe is here, coming off his run on Empire Jeff TV. Of course, he's a happy man because the Dodgers won Game 1 of the National League Championship Series against the New York Mets, 9-0. Complete blowout. Feel happy for Joe. I don't feel sad for my good friend Aussie, who I will hopefully see on Tuesday out in front of the I think it's going to be the T-Mobile Arena, so hopefully I'll catch him there or somewhere on the strip. But yes, I am destined to meet up with him Tuesday. He actually was the bravest man in LA because he wore a Mets hat right in the middle of the bleachers in Dodger Stadium. So, yes, his team lost. Joe's team won. Joe's teams won because his Pittsburgh Steelers were here, like I just said, in Las Vegas and roasted the Raiders. I guess it was a home game. That's unfair, Joe, because that's an extra home game for the Pittsburgh Steelers today. It just shows you the lack of support the Raiders have here in Las Vegas, Joe. But I'll let you mention that here in a bit. But it is, of course, the Lakers fast break. I did want to go ahead and start off by congratulating something that we didn't actually talk too much about last week. We only covered it a little bit. And we didn't cover it on the Lakerholics crew because, Laker Tom was so busy yelling at me about AD taking more threes and JJ being next to God or whatever he calls him as far as coaching is concerned, as Joe takes the Red Hot Cheetos there. One thing we wanted to go ahead and mention was the enshrinement of Michael Cooper to the Hall of Fame, Basketball Hall of Fame. You know what? As Laker fans, we're really excited for him to be there, along with Vince Carter, Chauncey Billups, among others, and also Jerry West for the third time. I believe the only individual that's been enshrined 3 times as a player, as an executive, and now as a contributor to the game of basketball. Congratulations to Michael Cooper and to the family of Jerry West. It was a great weekend for Los Angeles Lakers fans. And also, we'll talk about a little bit of Los Angeles Lakers as far as what needs to happen, not only on Tuesday here in Vegas, but for the rest of the preseason as well. But first up, I'll let the man speak here. It is a good man indeed. It is, of course, the guy who was just on Empire Jeff's channel. He's now back on our channel. It is a guy that's very happy tonight. All is well when Joe wins. It is Joe Soro, a.k.a. Oxnard247 at LakersBall.com, and also Simblades with a Y.com. Joe, good to have you here. Before we get into the Dodgers or the Steelers or the Lakers, I want to go ahead and make sure, again, we do not forget those who provided so many great memories for us, and especially with Jerry West, the timeliness of that ESPN article. I know obviously everything is intertwined with each other, but I wanted to make sure that we once again remember those who were enshrined this weekend into the Basketball Hall of Fame.
I'm sorry to say that I haven't been able to pay any attention to any Laker stories or events, but I will here in the next day, and I'll be able to watch the Michael Cooper speech. Wish Jerry was still here so we could hear his speech for the third time. I got the tail end of Michael Cooper's career. I didn't get a chance to see him in his prime.
I did.
But I do have a lot of video. I have all 6 of the 80, all 6 of the 82, all 6 of the 85, all 6 of the 87, and all 7 of the 88 championships. So I have seen him play. I watched him play. I didn't watch him live, but I've watched him play. And more than that, I've gotten to know from TV, Michael Cooper just being just a cool dude. I mean, Michael's just the coolest guy that you see on TV. Always smiling, always happy. One of the great things about that team is it seems like no matter what's going on, no matter what event it is, they're always together. Byron Scott, Michael Cooper, Michael Thompson, Kareem, Magic, Worthy. They're really tight. They're a really tight group. You don't really see that a lot. I think the Steelers from the 2000 Steelers, those guys hang out. And then the Lakers. I don't see that. I've never seen Manu and Tony Parker and Duncan hanging out. Maybe they do, and maybe I don't pay attention to it. But anytime there's a event, these guys are always there. They're always together. They're always doing stuff. Doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's something where they're just talking about something else, they seem to be on a round table talking about whatever. And the great thing about Cooper making the Hall of Fame is the fact that his jersey belonged there before then. But it's just they couldn't put it because they only put the great ones there. And great means you got to be in the Hall of Fame. And I love that rule, by the way. I hope they never change it. As much as I would love to see Derek's jersey up there or Robert Ory's, it's for the greats. It's for championships. It's not for the second place stuff. It's not for the division banners. It's not for the really good players. It's supposed to be for the greats. And now Michael Cooper, and then of course Jerry West again for the third time, have been validated as one of the great ones.
Xbox is the Lakers Hall of Fame. I don't know what you're asking on that, so I apologize. But great to have you here nonetheless. Of course, it is the Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate you joining us for Lakers Weekend as we close this weekend out. It is, of course, Joe Soro along with me, Joe Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. Seven Grand says Coop was a better version of Marcus Smart. I think he was, absolutely. Marcus Smart, I don't think has achieved the level of defensive prowess or also as well clutch shooting that we've seen from Michael Cooper, of course, the course of his career when he was absolutely one of the most feared defenders in the NBA as far as on the perimeter level. So yes, that kind of notoriety for a guy that, of course, as you look at his numbers, somebody would just sit there and look at the back of his basketball card or his stats online, and they wouldn't be too impressed. That doesn't tell the whole story. They need to see the whole story about the guy who was in many ways one of the toughest defenders that has been admitted over the years by Larry Bird and several other top players of that era. So if you get a chance, go back in time, go on YouTube. And that's the great thing about YouTube. You can go back into and watch the early years of Showtime. You can watch the Lakers 80s when they really started to dominate. And a big part of that domination, Joe, was defense, predicated on defense, rebounding, getting out on the fast break, and also having a player on the wing like Michael Cooper that could not only lock down the opposing team's best player, but also get out on the run, shoot a three, but also be available with his athletic ability for the Koopa Loop as well.
Well, the construction of the latter part of the Lakers Showtime team was very similar to the Steelers' second version of their run. So the Steelers in 74-75 were a run-dominant, defensive-heavy team. Then in 1978, and this was after coming up short for 2 years, getting to the Super Bowl again, after they won back-to-back titles in 74 and 75, the NFL changed the rules on how to defend receivers. And this is what was known as the unofficial rule, the Mel Blount rule, where you can only hit the receiver for 5 yards and then you got to let him go. So what that did was that enabled Terry Bradshaw now to create an arsenal because you had Lynn Swann on one side and John Starworth on the other. And then they proceeded to win 2 more titles after that, which was more offensive heavy philosophy. So when you look at the Lakers in the 80s, 1980, 1982 was more kind of geared towards, in a lot of ways, 285 was more geared towards the half court. Let's try and go to the cap, and then we'll run when we need to. But there was still some blend of the fast break. That's what separated them from everybody. But then once 87 hit, it was, I guess, discussed that Pat Riley was going to go a different way, and Kareem, I guess, might have signed off on it. And then, of course, we saw what happened after that, which was back-to-back titles for the first time in 20 years. And that was when Magic finally won his first MVP. And we all know the rest from there. And that's and Michael Cooper and Jerry West all had a hand in that. Jerry West's construction of the shifting from Norm Nixon to Byron Scott and how he shifted the half-court dominant Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to Magic's more fast break with, let's get out and run. Really, in the end, that's what killed the Celtics. That's what killed the Celtics in 87. They were injured, too. I know that's like that with anybody. But there was the Celtics. were not as athletic as those teams in 85 and 87. And what can you say? You didn't have you had the perfect blend of everything. You had the all-time greats, you had the first-round picks, you had guys that were not supposed to be as good as they were, you had guys that came in trades, you had guys that came off great careers that wanted to win a championship, that accepted their roles. And Michael Cooper was one of those guys. Started, what was he, a third-round pick?
Yeah.
Third-round pick. Didn't know he was going to make the team.
Out of New Mexico.
Won. Who the hell comes out of New Mexico to play basketball in the NBA? I only know Michael Cooper. The only other guy I know out of New Mexico that was famous was Brian Urlacher. That's it. I got nothing else that I don't know. So he made it work. Was shooting threes when it wasn't the thing to do. He weighed 170 pounds, yet was on you like glue. Larry Bird is quoted saying Michael Cooper is the best player he's ever played against in terms of him, in terms of someone else
guarding him.
Yeah. So I don't think there's a bigger compliment than that by anyone at that point. If Larry Bird says you're badass, then you're a badass. And while I have my criteria of Hall of Famers is a little different than most, if this is the criteria, Michael Cooper deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. Jerry West deserved to be in the Hall of Fame 10 times, as far as I'm concerned. And it was a great day, and I'm looking forward to looking at more of the footage on what happened, because I have missed it today. Today's been a very, very busy day for me in terms of sports.
Of course it is. I can't say I blame you. But I did want to say again, this is for Xbox, just to get everybody up to speed. Once again, this past weekend, this was the annual enshrinement for those that have been elected to the Basketball Hall of Fame. I know some of the names that you guys were familiar with, some of the names involved. Again, Chauncey Billups, Vince Carter. I think they were the only two as actual players who were selected by the sports writers and whatnot, by their peers. And as far as the, I guess, from the nostalgia part, Michael Cooper was brought in for that, and for as contributors, among other names, was Jerry West as a contributor. He's already in as a player and also as well as an executive. But Joe, even though the contributing part is not based off the Lakers, let's just be honest, it's based off of his time with the Grizzlies, the Warriors, the Clippers, among others. It still speaks to the greatness of Jerry West that he has been inducted for a third time. And I guess you could say it's also based off his time with the Lakers, because if it's as a contributor, he's contributing so much to the sport, even going back to his days in West Virginia. Yeah, got you right there.
Let's look at his stint in Memphis. Memphis hadn't made it to the playoffs ever until he arrived, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then they went to 3 straight. Granted, they didn't win a playoff game, but it went from 0 to something. You still need talent to compete, right? And they only had Pau Gasol at that point, and that's all she wrote. Fast forward to the Golden State Warriors. He saved the Golden State Warriors from themselves. There was talk about them trading Klay Thompson to Minnesota for Kevin Love. He said, absolutely not. How catastrophic would that have been had they made that trade? Probably wouldn't have won championships the way they did, right? Maybe one,
Sure.
But not 4. The other is the Clippers. Is it a coincidence that he was there when they acquired Kawhi Leonard? No, it's not, folks. Every time he goes somewhere, something weird happens. Like Durant shows up, Kawhi shows up, Memphis all of a sudden makes the playoffs. This guy is the savant when it comes to the business. Jerry West is the greatest executive I've ever seen in any sport. That says a lot, because you got a lot of great execs out there. I mean, the Bill Polians of the world and the Dombrowskis, all those guys, they're amazing. But Jerry West is the greatest executive I've ever seen in sports, and damn sure it's the best exec in basketball ever. And this guy made an impact everywhere he went. everywhere he went. And I loved him more because he was crazy. And maybe it's because I'm crazy and I like crazy people. But all he wanted to win. He was obsessed with winning, obsessed with the work. This is Jerry West going into the high school gyms and the college gyms. He did the work. That's why he was great at it. And of course, he knew how to look at talent. There will never be a summer like 1996. There will never, ever be a summer like 1996. Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and Derek Fisher all in a 3-week span. I mean, can you deny it? And that's just the biggest one he did. He did other things. He got Kobe twice. Twice. Now you might be wondering, wait a minute, what are you talking about twice? Folks, I believe Elgin Baylor, another Laker great a lot of people forget about, he committed to the Clippers. He told Elgin Baylor he's coming to the Clippers until Jerry West pulled him to the side, figuratively, and said, you cannot play for that owner. No way. So not only did he get you once, Laker people, Laker owners, Laker execs, whatever the hell you want to call yourselves, he got you Kobe twice. How bad of a summer would that have been had you lose Shaquille O'Neal and then Kobe Bryant after that? Jerry West made sure you didn't. And that's the part that boggles my mind. Is there any of that thought process? And I'm not saying that they should have hired him back. I'm even giving Jeannie and the people that have been there this whole time, like Kurt Rambis' wife and Kurt Rambis, whatever. I get it. You guys didn't want to work with Jerry West anymore, and you were tired of his attitude, maybe, and maybe you guys got into a spat. You're never going to forgive him. I get it. Things like that happen. You worked with him for 30, 40 years. I get it. But the way you treated him is unacceptable. No matter what he did, short of killing your cat, your dog, whatever the hell is that you guys hold dear, like, what could Jerry have done so bad that you had to text his wife because you had no balls to tell him that he wasn't welcome?
To his face.
Say it to his face. Have the balls to at least give that man the respect to his face. What did Jerry West do? Seriously. I might not know. We might not know. He might have done something bad that we don't know about. It's like the mystery of Marcus Allen and Al Davis. We don't really know why Al was so angry at Marcus Allen. I have a theory. I think he might have dipped his ink in someone else's cup that Al Davis held dear to him. I don't know. Just taking a guess. Usually that's what it always is. I don't think Jerry West was caught up in anything like that, but what was it? What really was it? I want to know. I really want to know. And I think they owe us that as Laker fans because it doesn't make any sense. Jerry West died with a broken chain from the franchise he helped create. Jerry West was an LA Laker. He was an LA Laker 20 years before Dr. Buss came.
And in that article by Baxter Holmes last week on ESPN.com, it alluded to, Joe, the fact that he, was thinking, maybe I shouldn't have ever been a Laker at all. Maybe I should have played somewhere else. This is how I'm going to be treated at the end of my career and even after my career, after I've given so much to the organization. Where did it all go wrong? Why was I continued to be treated like this after all I've given to this organization?
I don't know. It would be a great question to ask Jeannie what really happened. I don't know if she'd ever tell us.
Is it because, I speculated it's because of the Phil Jackson Jeannie Buss thing when they were all together and it was, obviously causing a rift at that time? Is that pettiness still lasted for years on end? And now the Lakers only posthumously, after he's passed away and has been inducted for the third time in Hall of Fame, you're now doing what you need to do. Although again, the patch issue and the tiny 44 next to the much larger Bibigo thing still irritates both Joe and myself. Uh, it's just disappointing to see what happened as far as how it just never really repaired itself. The fractured relationship between Jerry West and the Lakers, but that shouldn't denigrate at all what Jerry West has contributed to the Lakers and what he has contributed to the game of basketball, Joe.
Going by common sense and those who have been around Jerry West, why is it that Shaquille O'Neal loves Jerry West? Why did Kobe love Jerry West? We're never going to know. Kobe's gone. Jerry's gone now. Who else is going to say something? Would it be maybe Vanessa? Maybe Vanessa can point something to this, because I'm sure Jerry and Kobe talked about things. But the pettiness is the way of the world, because the older we get, the more we advance as a society, at least in this country. I'm starting to sense a little bit of adolescence starting to come back, because what happens when everything is good? What happens when there's always food and there's always shelter and there's always someone supporting you? All these things that the country, society gives. Why? When you don't work for what you want, when you're given it, you're going to create an entitlement. And there's a lot of levels to this. Even the richest guys and the guys that are putting in work to be, let's say, professional athletes, all those guys, like, they're gonna retort with, well, I worked to make it, and I've been playing this long, and I put in work, I work out, I do this, I do that. I go, there's certain levels to it, from the lowest to the highest. Some people were genetically gifted to do certain things. Most people are not. And what I'm noticing about adults, and maybe it's always been like this, and it's just we know about it now, but I do think it's getting a little worse, where this pettiness and this childlike response to things, you go online and people get offended so quickly, and everybody wants to be called certain things and completely change the American language, and you can't say something, otherwise somebody's going to go, oh, you don't want to say that because you might do this. At some point, society needs to say, look, F all this garbage you're talking about. Look what this person is. Look what this person did. Unless we don't know, was it bad? Was it something so secretive that no one knows anything and it was that bad? I don't know. We really don't know. I'm just basing it off what I've seen. I'm going to take a wild guess that Jerry West wasn't into any weird stuff. Pardon my ignorance, but seriously, come on. Something would have came out. It always does. So what is it, Jeannie? What did he do that hurt your feelings so much that you got to put some high sodium trash marketing that's the size of freaking Seattle next to a little bit of a shit stain on an underwear on top of 44? Really? You couldn't just shift that up to 44 a little bit? You couldn't wait. You've got that jersey everywhere for 82 games, plus playoffs, plus in-season tournaments, plus play-ins. You couldn't have just given the respect to a dead man who helped build your franchise for 40 years, 50 years. You couldn't just honor him with just the number. These are the little things, and it's not even before Jerry West. That's why I'm siding with Jerry, because they've shown this kind of stuff before in other things. And we've gone over this at nauseum. I'm not going to go over it again. These guys.
Well, I just want to say, Darren says, Seven Grand says, do you think a failed businessman was more important than Jerry West? The reason why he's being honored is not just his time with the Lakers as a contributor. He's being honored for his time contributing to the game of basketball overall, Joe.
Wait, what? I'm confused. Darren,
he was saying, Seven Grand was saying, Darren, do you think Buss, a failed businessman, was more important than Jerry West? I don't know how he's a failed businessman.
Dr. Buss was not a failed businessman. Dr. Buss was one of the smartest people ever in the history of the NBA.
Originally, he struggled early on but that was early on before he got really into real
Well,
estate.
he struggled because he put all the eggs in this basket of the
Yeah.
NBA, and because he risked, just like any other successful big people, they all risk. Everyone risks big. It's the only way you're going to get big is by risking big. Everyone has. They fired Steve Jobs. He had to come back because they went downhill. Would you
even
fail
well,
then?
even if you remember, he was to the point where he didn't have enough money to
Yes.
buy the Lakers and everything else that was involved with buying to purchase the team. I think the Forum was involved as well, and he had to borrow money or get money from Donald Sterling of all people as well. If you check out the first episodes of Winning Time, if you haven't seen it on HBO Max or whatever outlet you have around the world, I highly recommend it because it gives you, yes, it is dramatized, but it does tell you an outline, Joe, as you know, it does outline the beginnings of how Jerry Buss bought the Lakers.
Well, I'm sure there's some truth to some of the stuff on there, but I'm not basing my information on
It's not a point, but it gives you the general so people can research it more.
Dr. Buss struggled in those times because he sold everything to create what the NBA eventually turned into. He was the one that did it. Jack Kent Cooke wasn't going to do it. Red Auerbach wasn't going to do it. Red Auerbach was too old school, right? No cheerleaders here. We don't give a damn about this Showtime stuff. We're lunch pail guys. We're this. Yes, I understand that, and I identify with that more than I do the Hollywood, the debauchery and the hedonism. Believe me, I get it. However, it's funny because I used to always hear about how the Bulls started the whole, you remember the music before they'd started, I go, look, that's a good tune, don't get me wrong, and their whole setup, dude, all that started with Dr. Buss. Dr. Buss brought in the cheerleaders. Actually, I'm sorry, he didn't bring the cheerleaders in. He brought the dancers to the show. He turned the NBA into a pep rally. People were going nuts. They saw nice looking things on the court. They saw Showtime. They saw stars in the benches. That's all Dr. Buss. And he turned a $60 million investment, where he didn't have to spend. He could have went $60 million in 1979 is what? 300, 400, 500 million now? He could have sat back, lived his life, front row in the Laker games and not done anything. Instead, he put his ass on the at stakes. What is the word? He put his money, his ass, his life, all on that table, and said, "I'm going to do this," and turned it into what Forbes is saying, I think a $7 billion product now from $60 million. I'd say that's pretty successful. However, you always need help on the way up, folks. And if you have to pick one guy out of all the people, there were a lot of guys. Magic had a say in it. Bill Sharman had a say in it. Pat Riley had a say in it. Heck, even Paul Westhead had a say in it. Jerry West he's the Laker. He was there from the beginning. The second they moved to LA, Jerry West was there. And he did the greatest job we've all ever seen in everything he did. And it's sad that it had to end like this. It's sad. I don't know why, but I'm going to base it off of what I know and what I've seen. Big mistake by the Lake organization for doing this, because it's never going to be a reconciliation because the man is gone now. And that's the sad part. It's unfortunate. And it sucks too, because I think if Kobe was still here, there might have been something that could have played out. Because I didn't hear this much negativity until after Kobe died. Coincidence? Coincidence? Remember I told you about the patriarch and the matriarch? I'm telling you, man, Kobe dying screwed so many things up. Him dying screwed a lot of things up, man. When he went out, a lot of things fell apart. It's almost identical to when my grandmother passed away in 96. I saw uncles, I saw cousins just fall out after that because they had no authority. They had no authority watching them, or the authority that they respected so much that they kept themselves at bay. Yeah. That's my take on it.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. We're finishing off Lakers Weekend with Joe Soro and myself, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. Don't forget our coverage later this week, Tuesday night, as the Lakers head into Vegas, my town, to play the Golden State Warriors. I'll see what we can do to try and get the hookup for playback.tv. Once again, whether I'm here with you guys, I'm probably going to be here because my schedule's not going to allow me to stay for the entire 2 hours for the game. So instead of that, I will probably be with you guys for most of the playback, along hopefully with Joe as well for Golden State and Lakers. And then also as well bring you post-game on that, plus all our episodes this week. I've got actually some interviews coming up later this week as well, if everything goes right. So we'll see. We'll see. But Joe, before we get to close out the show with our thoughts on the Lakers and what they need to accomplish in the next 3 games, which they probably won't listen to us and they'll probably play plenty of Bronny instead. Pittsburgh came into my town, Las Vegas, to go ahead and face off. And I think it's just where we stand with the state of the Raiders right now. People ask me all the time, you guys have asked me on this show, how are the Raiders perceived here in Las Vegas? And I was like, yeah, you see, I'm wearing the Golden Knights shirt, and Golden Knights created here, are from here, embraced by here to its entirety. They put on a show unlike any other team in hockey. Yes, they're 3-0 now, but it's just early in the season, regardless. But it is something that has definitely been magical. The Raiders borrow heavily from the presentation the Golden Knights do. They can't get away with it half as good as they do. I've been to a few games now. It's half and half, or it's leaning slightly towards the Raiders in most games. But today was nowhere near a Raiders game. Today it was a Pittsburgh home game, to be sure, Joe. And they played like it in their win over the Raiders.
Well, I'm sure the transient culture of the Raiders being in Vegas had something to do with that. But the Steelers are in my estimations, I know the Cowboys have something better than the Packers, but I don't think anybody travels better than the Steelers in general. And there's a spreading out of the fans. So in the 60s, at the end of the 60s and the beginning of the 70s, when the steel mills closed down, a lot of Stiller fans, as they call them, dispersed around the country. Matter of fact, a lot of people moved to other countries too. There's a huge Steeler contingency in Costa Rica. And in America, Steeler fans are everywhere. And it was right around that time when they started winning Super Bowls too, where they started getting around and then people stuck with it. And you also factor in how TV changed from the 60s to the 70s. When you're more prominent to see something specific on TV, you're going to probably be more engaged in that. That's why you see a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans. That's why you see a lot of Steeler fans, because that's when TV, NFL films started getting really, really big right around that late 70s, late 60s, 70s time period. At the time, let's say 1978, at that moment, there was the Steelers were at 2 Super Bowls, and the Cowboys were at 2 Super Bowls. They were going to play for kind of the supremacy of the 70s decade, and they ended up playing in Super Bowl 13, and Steelers ended up winning it and getting that title, and Steelers ended up winning another championship the following year, and that's what everyone saw. That was like those two teams that you saw that were advertised. And fast forward to now, factoring in how Pittsburgh kind of changed their culture in their own town due to economics. People dispersed. People created their own little sections everywhere. I remember when I moved to San Diego, the first place I found was a Steeler bar across the freeway from where San Diego State was. And I watched all the Steelers games there because DirecTV had just started getting popular around that time. TV wasn't as readily available like it used to be, but I used to go watch those games there, and 90% of the people there were ex-Berg guys. And that's probably what most of it is. You can go to Jacksonville, you can go to Baltimore. I don't think there's ever really been a game I've watched where you start hearing Steeler fans. Now, if you go to Baltimore, you'll probably get more Ravens fans, obviously, in Cincinnati and all that. But when they start winning and the team is not winning, you'll start hearing the sounds pretty well at the end of the games.
Well, I told you the other day I went to the Cleveland Raiders game, and it was 45% Cleveland fans as opposed to Raiders fans. It's not even funny, Joe, the lack of support the Raiders get for their home games. It's kind of hilarious, and I don't know if it bodes well for or bodes not so well for the new baseball stadium that they're bringing here with the Oakland A's, because there'll be extra home games for the big teams like the Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Yankees, whoever comes out to support their teams. There'll be less A's fans and more of those fans coming in.
It doesn't matter anymore, Gerald. It doesn't matter anymore if a city doesn't want a team. It's fixed.
Oh.
And I'm going to, looking at the Raiders as an example, when Mark Davis was in Oakland, I think his team was 31st. I'd have been 30, definitely the lower three in terms of net worth. Let me see if I can find this statistic here. Just pardon me for a second here, real quick. Let me see if I can find it. Where are we here? Of course, the graph that I see has all the teams. I just want the Raiders. There we go. So the Raiders.
He's right here. He's still doing it.
I'm sorry. Here. So I'm sorry. I was thinking further, like earlier in the 2010s. In 2019, this was the last year that the Raiders were in Oakland. Their value was $2.9 billion at that time. They were 12th in the league, which in a lot of ways isn't bad, right? But let's fast forward to 2024. I know that the league all kind of went up too, but not like this. So you have, what was it I said, 2.9?
Yeah.
And now they were 12th in the league. And now this year, in 2024, they sit at 7 with $6.7 billion. So just in 5 years, they more than doubled their worth. And that's because of the stadium, Vegas. That's why they do this. The A's are worth, in sports franchises terms, the house of a cardboard box. When they move to Vegas, it's going to go way up.
Yeah, Xbox, even if they were really good, today's game would still be a Steelers home game. They're just, because Las Vegas is such an easy place to travel to. Yeah. It's funny because who was it that asked me? Seven Grand says, you want more casinos or a Major League Baseball team? I would take casinos 100 times out of 100 because of the fact that casinos is what brings people to Las Vegas, not the Oakland A's. Yeah.
The city of Oakland is the residual effect of the terrible policies passed by the morons that run San Francisco. They are to blame for all this. Policies in the state of California, as well as especially San Francisco. We talked about this on Empire Jeff's telecast about an hour ago about how a lot of these guys like Yamamoto and Ohtani, the reason why they didn't consider San Francisco an option, real option, is because of how terrible the city of San Francisco is right now. People can't even leave their cars parked anywhere without, it's bad. Now, LA, you would think, wow, well, LA is kind of a crap hole too. Yes, but LA is much larger. It's a much larger area. You can go to certain areas where you don't really have to worry about that kind of stuff. You can get away from the muck. San Francisco, you can't. I guess you could go to Los Gatos and all that, but even they're having problems over there too. Now, Oakland lost the Golden State Warriors, the Raiders, and now we're going to lose the A's. All that is because of bad leadership. A lot of history there too, right? It's not like the Raiders don't bring something to the table. They're not the Chargers when they were in San Diego. They weren't they're not the Pelicans or the Hornets of Charlotte, where I don't even know why these guys exist, right? These are legendary teams. The A's, the Oakland A's, the Oakland Raiders. Golden State is actually the third team if you factor in kind of the history, but they have an amazing history too, especially recent. And they couldn't do anything over there. So what does that tell you? Why couldn't they build another stadium in Oakland? Because the value there is trash. And San Francisco only caters to the really, really rich. So you've probably all heard the gap. Hey, everything's turning into poor and rich, right? Well, that's when you let certain leaders decide on how things are. Usually those same scumbags are the ones telling you, we need to do this, we need to do that. We need to go find the guy stealing your money. No, they're stealing your money. Here's the proof. You can't do anything anymore in any of these areas because people just keep sucking them dry.
7, it was the Dodgers coming here and moving to Las Vegas. I don't think a lot of people would be mad about that. I wouldn't be mad about that, but who cares about it? 7 Grand says, you said it best. Who cares about the A's? No one cares about the A's. The fans in Oakland only cared about the A's until after they said they were going to move. And then now it's, oh, stop from moving, stop from moving. Oh, let's all show up at the stadium on the last day. That speaks a lot about how they truly care about the team. Where were you when they were averaging 300 or 400 people in a 50,000, 60,000 seat stadium? When it was the Oakland Mausoleum, people kept calling it. So yeah, it's nobody wants the A's here. Our own mayor has said they didn't want the A's here, but we're going to get them regardless. But if it's the Dodgers, maybe the Angels, or another famous baseball team coming here, of course, that's a different story. We would like that. But yeah, again, if you told me, which do I want more here? We'll take more casinos, because more casinos means more money, more revenue driven in for a lot of people and a lot of jobs here in the city of Las Vegas. I know Joe doesn't like it, but you know, it is what it is.
You set the precedent of entitlement. I was talking about this a little bit a few minutes ago about how when you're constantly entitled, when you're constantly given things, there's programs. It's always program after program after program. After a while, you start to get used to being given things that you're not yourself taking care of. And this isn't, I'm not talking about getting lines of credit under your stocks or things like that. I'm talking about sports and cities allow themselves to take money from the public to create their houses. Once that started, that was it. They were never going to do it any other way. They never made it the responsibility of the owner to build their own thing. They put it on the city. They put some cockamamie thing where you're going to get 1,300 more jobs or 13,000 more jobs. And there's going to be more people coming in and buying things in the local stores and all that horse shit. How often does that really work? I mean, if you own a T-shirt store right next to the stadium, is your business now going to go from $100,000 a year to $1 million because a stadium is there? I don't know, maybe, but I don't think it is. You gave these rich people the entitlement on top of all this. The same assholes who always talk about all their political campaigns about, we got to get them to do their fair share, are still doing deals for stadiums where they got to go get bonds given to them so they can go build the stadiums. That's what was going on with the San Diego thing, right? They voted Spanos, go eat it, you know what? We're not going to give you a dime anymore. and then they left. The NFL didn't give a shit. The owners don't give a shit. MLB ownership doesn't give a shit. They don't care about building any kind of history or messing with history. Oh, well, if you couldn't do it, what? Until they need money. And Vegas is giving them money. And it sounds like the mayor had nothing to do with it. She knew what was going on. Yeah. Like, well, mayor, look, we're going to let the governor and we're going to let all the owners of the casinos decide on what's going to happen here.
Yeah, she didn't want it. She said it on the air. She's like, I don't want this team here. And most people don't. Most people don't want this team here, but they are smart because they are going to build a smaller stadium, Joe. It's not going to be a huge 70,000, 80,000 seat stadium. It's going to be, I think, 35. If I want to say it right, that was 35,000, 9 acres. Going to have this retractable roof, all that. So it'll be a nice state-of-the-art, smaller stadium. But again, I just think it was a mistake. But hey, it's Vegas. We're actually going to build another arena. Why do we need build another arena when we got the T-Mobile? But for whatever NBA expansion team is going to come into play, Joe, I guess we got to build another arena as well. So because this money never stops, because we just talked about, just why would you want to build more casinos? This is why we want to build more casinos, so we can actually get the revenue in, so we can pay for all this crap. Bloodhound says it best. We're going to be paying, our city is going to be paying for Allegiant till 2048. With interest, that total cost is going to hit over $1 billion for their initial $750 million contribution. Great facts that you just looked up, Bloodhound. That's exactly why we don't need a baseball team here, because, again, you're bringing a team that not everybody wants. The NBA team, people will want that, Joe, because like the Golden Knights, it's an expansion team from the ground up in Las Vegas, built on Las Vegas. So you have that sense of ownership. When you've got some outsiders coming to stay with you, it just feels like, especially with the Raiders, Joe, once their lease comes up or their contract is up on staying with Las Vegas, you think they'll renew it, or you think they'll just get out of town for a better buck?
You think that's what's going to happen?
They've done it twice before, Joe. Actually, 3 times before. Oakland to LA, LA back to Oakland, Oakland to Las Vegas.
Raiders. Oh, the Raiders.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. For a second there, I thought you meant the Ace, which they went from Philadelphia to.
Could do that too. Yeah.
Oakland to now to Vegas. Yes. Once the Raiders get a quarterback, a franchise quarterback, like I don't want to say like a Patrick Mahomes, at least someone like Josh Allen, you'll probably see a little bit of a switchback.
That's true, $7,000. That's a good point. The 2 most beloved teams in LA were from other cities. You got a point there, but not this town.
Brooklyn was sort of with New York, because they were already the Yankees. They weren't forced, but they were kind of. They couldn't build a stadium the right way in Brooklyn. Brooklyn at that time was a true kind of like the barrio of New York. The boroughs. Barrio is a Spanish thing in LA. But they wanted some, at the time, only St. Louis was west. So the inevitability of a team coming out west was there. It just happened to be the Brooklyn Dodgers. Brooklyn had a huge fan base. They couldn't build a stadium, but they could have probably made it work if they pressed a little bit. But I think the LA deal was the best. And they continue to still reap the benefits, because there's no better place than Chavez Ravine for baseball. And the attendance there, the stadium in general, prove it every time you're there. You got to go to Chavez Ravine and really understand what
it still's a great stadium. Like. I won't ever argue with that. I mean, the issues with the parking lot aside, I won't ever argue about the actual in-stadium experience of Chavez Ravine, Joe. I will.
Ralph, if the Raiders got Arch Manning in like a couple of years,
which they might,
they're going to have to stink to get the first pick. That would change because I think Arch is going to be a good one.
They're on their way, Joe.
I think Arch is going to be a really good one. It's crazy to say that if Arch has his his uncle's processing, Peyton is better than Eli in processing, but Eli was pretty good.
Bloodhound. Well, Bloodhound is like, okay, it's the usual deal. Some investors and capitalists, they'll come in, they'll say, we're going to pay for a certain percentage of whatever the stadium costs or to bring them in there. And then they need the city to go ahead and fit the bill. Usually it's a smaller cost it starts off with, and it just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Because Bloodhound, I think I remember that it was somewhere, the initial investment for the city was supposed to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 350 million. And it turns out to be what you just said. Eventually, after everything's paid off, it'll probably end up being up $1.4 billion that they'll be stuck with as far as the bill. But Allegiant Stadium has worked out as far as for other things, for concerts, for wrestling events, things of that nature. So it has worked out as far as that. But having the Raiders here is not. It was not do or die for us. Neither is carrying the A's. It's the Golden Knights has been something that's been a great experience for us sports wise, and it does help us legitimize us as a sports town. And again, we'll be getting an NBA expansion team probably before the end of the decade, maybe building another arena and all that. But yeah, I mean, don't ask me again, guys. To be honest with you, again, what do I want more, casinos or more sports teams? I'm going to tell you what is better financially for the city of Las Vegas. And I have to tell you, it's a casino every time.
I would have preferred the Raiders to move to LA. Rams in LA is fine too.
Again.
and then figure out a way to keep the Chargers in San Diego.
That would have been the best, yeah.
That would have been the best scenario. There's a huge fan base in LA. It would have worked.
Do you think a lot of that heat, as they say in pro wrestling vernacular, that we saw in the San Diego LA series, do you think some of that might have been just because of the fact, some of the Chargers leaving, San Diego always feels like LA's kid brother, stuff like that?
No, the San Diego Dodger thing has always sort of been there. If you go back to 1998, 1996, the Dodgers were up 2 games. So they needed one more win in the last series to win the division. Padres ended up sweeping them and winning the division by 1 game. They ended up losing the playoffs, but it's San Diego, Southern California, and all that then didn't have anything to do with what's gone on now. The only thing that's changed in the last 5-6 years is that the San Diego Padres don't operate like a small market team. They operate like a number 2 market, like LA. So they've been able to acquire talent. Their farm system has developed, the Fernando Tatises and all those guys. And they're bringing in guys to like Darvish, and they brought in King and all those guys. You've got big name free agents with talent, good farm system, good stadium, and they are competing with the big boys now versus when they would get lucky every now and then. And it's been consistent. They've been competing consistently here the last few years. That's where that rivalry comes from. And the fact that they've kind of had it there, but now it's truly a rivalry. Because back then they got lucky a couple times, but more often than not, they're still a little brother. And right now they are. Right now they're still a little brother. They blew it. They blew it big time. They had every advantage here, going up 2-1 with the decider being in their house. But what really ended up happening, and I talked to EJ about this before we even talked about it the last couple nights. The Dodgers looked like they just got tired of this. It finally hit them. A lot of it came from, I think, Dave Roberts too. Dave Roberts was starting. It was confirmed on the telecast today that there was legitimate noise that Dave Roberts was likely going to get fired if he had lost to San Diego. Joe Davis talked about the information. And I knew somebody leaked that article out to kind of set the stage. Who it was, I don't know. Whether it was a true journalism thing or if maybe somebody in the LA office decided to have somebody send that out without, confirming who it was. But if they had lost to San Diego, I truly believe we'd be talking right now about Dave Roberts being fired. But Dave Roberts did something that we've been begging him to do for the last 5 years, and that is stop managing everything towards analytics. And the son of a gun did it, and look what happened. It started with that Bueller thing. He went out to the mound and he said, when he goes to the mound, he usually switches, but he left Bueller in there and he ended up finishing that inning. I was like, whoa, what the hell did I just watch? He let Jack go 7 innings tonight. He had 2 bunts tonight, and they were equally as huge as any other play during the game. We saw old school National League baseball with analytics, with fire, everything. He mixed it the right way, and that's what we've been begging him to do for how long? How long have we been begging him to do that? I know I've been begging him. The playoffs are different. You got to manage based off your talent for being a manager, and he has, and he is absolutely slaying it right now. He is 7 wins away from having one of the best seasons or playoff runs I've ever seen a manager have.
Let's hope he keeps it going, my friend.
I really do. I really do. I've folks.
Sorry, Aussie. Sorry, all apologies.
Folks, I know I sound harsh sometimes to these guys, and I want to really, and I think I'm putting myself in a really bad position in the future if I ever circle these things. I don't consider Dave Roberts anywhere near a genie or a Rob Pelinka. Everyone knows Dave Roberts is a great person. He's known for being someone who's really, really cool. He's a really good dude. But this is about the professional side. And it was taxing. You're spending all this time watching 3-hour ball games for an entire season over and over and over again, and there's no payoff. Why? Because you hire a leader that's not managing or leading. If you're just going to go off a computer, well, why are you managing them? Just have Mark Pryor go change the pitchers and have Friedman just have a lackey there that just says, yeah, do this. Why do you have a manager? Well, Joe, this, because everybody kept bringing in, oh, look at his stats and look at this. I'm like, look at his stats. What stats? The guy is given a top-notch team every year. I'm talking about situational decisions because there's not enough payback for all this payroll and all this talent. You not understand? No, easy. He's not been managing average this year. If you're going to say that, then you haven't been fucking watching. All right? Don't talk stupid. You want to talk average overall? Yeah, because this thing isn't over. But that guy has been managing the last series and 1 game like a fucking stud. And if you're not watching these games like I've been watching them and you're saying that, then don't say shit. I hate when people talk like that. You think I'm going to be talking like this unless I knew?
I think what gets people confused is that he goes from where you're praising him now to, let's flash back 1 month ago.
Forget about 1 month. No, I told you already. I already said I'm talking about now.
Yes, I know you're talking about now. I'm just trying to. That's why people are questioning you on it. That's why.
No. This is not questioning. I already explained it. If you're too stupid to understand English, then maybe you should go learn Spanish. Okay? Listen to what I'm saying. He managed like a star in the San Diego series, and he managed like a star tonight. If he does it for 7 more games, it'll be one of the best managed runs I've seen. Because that's what's presented. It's got nothing to do with me. I don't sit and just Joe Rogan everything. You've heard me say that. I don't think everything's the best. The son of a gun is killing it. You give people props, okay? Doesn't matter what I said last year. Doesn't matter in 2019. I'm talking about right now. And I just told you guys, there's stuff that has been said, and it was confirmed tonight on the telecast, that if he had lost to San Diego, he was very likely going to lose his job. I hate when people don't listen. This is not hard. Pay attention. No,
I'm
you
easy.
need a break. Pay attention. See, he just said a great manager. Jesus Christ.
He's been doing you got to admit he's been doing a great job.
I'm talking about this series, you freaking wallhead. Do you not get it?
He's been doing a great job.
Jesus Christ.
In the last 3 games. Absolutely has hit every button right in the last 3 games, Joe.
2024 run. You want to call him average for his entire career? Fine. Talking about this year. This year. This year. This year. This playoff run. You getting it? You got it?
It is the Lakers fast break. It is
That's a good one, 7 grand. That's a good one.
Along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for listening. And before we head on out, just want to mention again, the Lakers are heading to Vegas. Vegas has been a hot topic so far on this show. Speaking of which, coincidentally, the Lakers are heading into Vegas here. Thomas and Mack Arena, T-Mobile Arena, I'm sorry. They are heading in to play the Golden State Warriors. Hopefully I will get the opportunity to meet Aussie in person. Anytime you guys are in Vegas, if you want to hit me up, man, I'd love to go ahead and meet you. Maybe have lunch or something, man. You guys are just awesome to us. So if you guys are in town, you can always hit me up, LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. But Joe, on that note, that means that the Lakers still have 3 games left to play before the regular season begins. There's still a lot of things that the Lakers, I think, need to figure out before that day happens. Yes, the starting lineup has looked very competitive. You know, the shot with Austin Reeves aside, that has not been great. Max Christie has had his ups and downs. Dalton Connect, ups and downs. A lot of promise there on Connect. Christie, again, times he looked good. Sometimes it's not been as pretty. The guys, Gabe Vincent in limited minutes has looked okay. Jackson Hayes, okay. But there's still things that need to figure out with this rotation before they head into the regular season, Joe. And I don't think they have quite figured it out just yet.
I await game 1 patiently. Preseason is not my concern right now. I want to see how they set up the lineups against Minnesota in game 1.
Okay.
I think I pretty much know what this team's got. I want to see what kind of decision making is going to be done and when.
Xbox, I may not be able to go to the game because I won't be able to stay the full 2.5 hours because my wife's work schedule will preclude me from that. But if I can, I will. But I will be meeting Aussie nonetheless. Even if I have to go park somewhere and just go down to the strip and meet him, I'd still want to take the time out and meet him because I'm so grateful for all the support he's given us on playback over the years and also Facebook as well. He's been one of our biggest Facebook viewers, and he has come to the States from Australia, and he's had a great time. Dude, he's tired out. He's done the whole Disneyland thing. He's all over the West Coast. 2 Dodgers games, Joe. Coming up with a Lakers game. He is really living the West Coast fantasy right now. So I'm happy for Aussie and his family.
Absolutely. I don't know. I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see how the minutes are going to be distributed on game 1.
Yep. Well, are you talking about the aside, brawny minutes aside?
And as far as the New York, Minnesota tift, I don't. I got an inkling that DiVincenzo didn't want to go to Minnesota.
Well, it's also, I think it was an inside joke to Tibbs and Brunson, and I think the older Brunson took exception to it because he wasn't knowledgeable. It was an inside joke that DiVincenzo was trying to go with Tibbs, and Tibbs got it because it was an inside joke. But I don't think the elder Brunson got it, which led to the issues at hand. But Rick,
he could be one of those sensitive types. I have friends of mine that are sensitive like that.
But the actual Brunson, the player now, is really close friends with DVD, and I don't think that
Jay. Sorry, no, Jay. I haven't watched it. The last thing I want to see or listen to is LeBron James in private.
Yeah, I saw it on my queue. I'm not super excited to see it. I actually watched the the Menendez brothers docu, the actual doc, not the Javier Bardem movie on Netflix. I got a chance to watch that now last night. Very effective. Again, it reminds me of, because when I lived in LA, I lived in LA until I was 25, and that was a part of my upbringing as far as the court cases during that time. Yeah, I did see the Aiden Hutchinson injury. The Lions smoked the Cowboys, but did cost them did come at the cost of Aiden Hutchinson. So, yeah, I'm hoping he does. Yeah, I hope he gets better. I just hope he gets better, and I hope he gets right, and maybe he'll get back on the field one day. But we'll see. Let's just hope he's able to go ahead and lead a productive life. It was very sad to watch that today.
What happened?
Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah.
Usually, when it's a broken bone, you think it's okay. It's better than tearing a knee, but the way his bone broke is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. What was I saying before I got up? It was my browser's closing on its own for some weird reason. What was I talking about here? Damn it. I think I was talking about the Knicks and their spat. Anyways, I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was just truly disappointing to see that happen. I feel for the kid. I'm hoping he'll find some sort of normalcy back into his life again. But yeah, just watching it back on the replay now on Twitter, and yeah, it's not good. So,
I'm assuming he went into surgery tonight.
Oh yeah.
Did they say if it was successful or not?
No, I've not heard any update on it. So,
Ralph, find out what's going on, man. Let me know.
It's I'm watching now because when he went into his own teammate, that's the part that
tibia was his tibia.
Yeah. He swung his leg around and boom, it snapped in half. Yeah, it's pretty sad. Yeah, it's pretty sad to see. The worst one I saw, I think I'm gonna say the Sid Vicious 2001 Sin. That's probably the nasty. I know Joe Theismann for a lot of people out there, but I'm going to say Sid Vicious was the one because there was no business for him doing that move. I know he was asked to do it or ordered to do it, and yeah, that's something he was unfamiliar with or uncomfortable with, and should not have done that. But
he was on pace to break the record too.
Yeah. Bloodhound said, "Did you guys see that Sam Mitchell NBA TV video?"
I did.
Yeah. I don't think he was joking. He got pissed. He's a guy, if you've heard him for a long time, like I have on NBA radio, he lets people go, they get him for only so far, and then he's just like, you know what, I'm gonna shoot it straight from the hip and tell you what's up, because and you know what, he got back at the guy too by putting his address out there. He put his address out there. And got back at him. So yeah, but
there might have been an issue before they got on air, or things that have progressed.
Probably.
That's what that is.
It's one of those things, people to go back to us with, people say, "Why I miss Sean? Can't you get Sean back on the show?" Well, You've seen it. We've gotten on the air. We think they were all good guys, and we're all, joking around. And how many times has it happened where he just didn't like the way we were joking around? And
Well, I've talked to Sean again. He hit me up not too long ago, and I've been talking to him a little bit. He knows. He knows, and it's a lot of it is he can't help it.
if he comes back on again, you can count the days or months
Yeah,
before
it's
it happens
unfortunate.
again.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Sometimes it's just like there's certain family members or your friends that might want to work with you, and you know their temperaments, and you know their their triggers, and then you finally have to break it down to them. I had for a very short stint, I had someone who wanted to work with me, and gave her a shot, gave her all the resources needed for what needed to get done, and I had to tell her that she wasn't it. And she retorted with, "No, I think I am." I go, "No, you're not." And then a week later, it was confirmed. She ended up not doing anything. I said, and people will interpret that, at least on her end. Oh, Joe didn't give me a chance. Joe didn't do this. People have their own visions. We've seen it already tonight. They have their own visions of what things are. They'll misinterpret things a certain way when it's not true, which is why I get heated with that, because that's where problems start. Because if you're not able to interpret certain things, you're quickly to get offended, or you're quick to retort without thinking. You got to think, folks. Okay, you got to think. You got to listen. People don't listen, and they don't think all the time. They're just too concerned about saying things and being right. I'm not here to be right. I'm here to talk about things that are right or wrong. But that's it. It doesn't matter to me. Credit, no credit, compliments, no compliments. I don't give a shit about any of that. What are we talking about? What's going on? Here's the situation. Now, I will throw in my personal opinion, because that's, again, just what the show's about, is our opinions of people that I don't like, of things that I don't like, and why this is happening, and what you think it is. As long as you started out with, look, I don't really know, but I think this is what it is, because this is what's been shown. Because you really don't know. I think the Jerry West genie busting is the classic topic of that. We don't really know what happened. So for us to sit here and say all these things like we know, it's probably not good, because what if we end up finding out something wasn't good and you're like, oh, that's why it happened. So that's it.
Xbox, do you have it? That's a good question. Xbox, probably it's not best to bring him on. Bring him on either full time, or you don't bring him on at all. Because he would just be asking us to come on if we already gave him a taste and put it back on, like Joe did. Joe put him on, so start putting him on. Then he came on more. He wanted to come on more, and he wanted to come on more, and he wanted to come on more, and everything was fine until he got upset for something Joe said. Blame Joe, blame me, blamed the fans, blamed everything. He blamed the world, and then
Again, I'm gonna let me clear this up so you all know how this works. Sean, as an example, has things going on in his life, and some people see things differently, and that's fine. It is what it is. Not everybody can do things the way it's supposed to. Now, beyond that, I'm 46 years old. I'm not playing high school games. I didn't play high school games when I was in high school. Maybe in junior high, but not in high school. If I start sensing there's bullshit going on, stupid petty shit, I cut it right away. Somebody's upset about something, if someone is feeling left out or whatever, that stuff gets nipped in the butt right away. Now, I know a lot of you don't. The general person does not like confrontation, and I get it. You don't want to ruffle the feathers. You don't want to be that guy. However, there needs to be at least one of those guys in a group. It's very, very valuable, because that's.
And I miss Sean. I miss working with Sean. I miss having the good times with Sean outweigh the bad, and I think he's an incredible person. I love him like a brother. and I want nothing for the best for him. Let's get that out of the way, Joe.
Yeah, and everyone knows
you
that.
do as well.
Everyone should know that. There's certain things people can't do for too long before things don't work out.
And if he called me tomorrow and said, "Hey, can we still be friends?" I would say, "Absolutely, my friend.
Yes,
we are
always going to be friends."
Yes,
and that's the separation there needs to be understood. It's just like a divorced couple. You ever notice how there's some divorced couples, they're friends after they're divorced? Those are people that realize that the community around them, especially if they have children, it's better if they get along. Some won't allow you to get along. That's when you got to cut the fat. I've had one of those recently because that person is a manipulative piece of shit. Sean is not a manipulative piece of shit. Sean is a good person who can't seem to maybe register certain things at certain times with dialogue coming from us. And that's just kind of how that plays out. It's easier for me to deal with things because I don't have feelings to things like that. I have feelings towards my kids, my wife, my friends, but words from just nonsense, insults, whatever. It doesn't hit me. It doesn't register. I don't think about it. I don't give a fuck.
I miss Kurt Affair, though. Yeah, I don't know what you guys did to him to cause him not to.
And that's the other part too. That's the other part too. Is I don't like people leaving here because there's a spat, but it's going to happen, and we have to deal with it. I can't.
Kurt was such a great part of the show.
We can't control 1,800 people. At some point, you're going to have to deal with certain things you don't like.
Yeah, I miss him dearly. Search, if you see him or anybody sees him, just send him our best. He doesn't have to come back here if he's not feel comfortable with enough, but just let him know that I thought he was an incredible part of the show, and I wish him and his family all nothing but the best.
I'll tell you why a lot of that happens, though. A lot of people that live in those drama-filled type things, in general, people only excite.
Dude, your server, man, it's just like.
Well, I'm getting a new router. It's in 4 years, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'll be making sure that this thing gets figured out.
Yeah, but if anybody's out there that knows Kurt Affair on a personal level or whatnot, just send him our best. Say thank him from us, from the bottom of our hearts. Thank him for everything that he did for the show. He was just such a great part of levity. When it got nasty, when it got mean sometimes, or Joe and I are arguing, whatnot, there wasn't anything better that I would see than a great quote that would make me laugh from Kurt Affair. It would be.
So why did he leave?
I don't know. It was that night where everybody got pissed off at each other in the chat, and things blew up, and it was like, it's happened like 2 or 3 times because this is the show where you can express yourselves and we acknowledge you on the show. And fortunately, yeah, this was something that just, I guess, some things, got out of hand, and there are a lot of things frayed at that point in time in the chat. So you guys are awesome. But yeah, it gets a little nasty, I think, between you guys sometimes. You guys just need to sometimes take a breath, take a step back. We're all passionate fans in our thoughts and our feelings. But yeah, it's sometimes goes a little bit. But Joe and I argue a lot on the air. But as soon as it goes off the air, you know what? We're good. We're golden because I know.
I wouldn't say it's arguing. It's just a spat.
Well, a spat. Okay, we have our spats, whatnot. But after the show goes off the air,
it's an argument.
It's all cool. Everything's all good, and we just let it go.
I love scotch. Scotch. Down my baby.
But anyways, Joe, it's been a great episode. You had a long day, and then of course you got to spend time with Empire.
I'm just watching TV. It's not that big of a deal. I haven't done shit except watch TV all day. I will go back to work tomorrow, though.
Okay.
On Indigenous Day.
Yeah, well, don't blame yourself. Don't blame yourself, Search. We love you, Search. Don't blame yourself. Nobody should blame themselves. Kurt's an adult. If he wants to come back, he does. But if somebody knows him out there, just tell him we send him our best. Yeah. So, yep. On that note, it is Mr. Scotch Joe Soro, aka Ox1947 at LakersBall.com, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this.
Did you forget your name?
Almost. It's that late. So
All right.
had a long day. So myself. So Seven said he went to the pumpkin patch and dinner with my lady too. Now that's something to enjoy. Congratulations, Seven. That is awesome. I hope everything went well, and I hope maybe you'll be getting some just desserts as well. So,
yeah.
Yep. Ralph D has been in. It says he's been in his boxers watching.
Yeah, man.
Football.
Sundays are the laziest days during football season.
I didn't need to hear about the boxers part, but the watching football days.
I do nothing on Sundays.
Yes.
Sometimes I'll sneak in the morning somewhere and do something, but other than that, it's once 10 o'clock hits on the West Coast, it's
all right. And on that note, it is the Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate you joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. Plus, hopefully, I'm lined up at least one interview for you guys. I'm trying to get one or two more for the rest of this week. Along with Joe Soro, it is Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this. Again, if you're ever in Vegas and you just want to say hi, hang out, or have lunch, whatnot, hit me up, LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. Almost everyone does it that stops by here, except for a certain Joe Soro. But remember when we were supposed to meet up but didn't because you just didn't want to travel the actual mile and a half it is.
Oh, you mean when I got a call my buddy was divorced?
Yeah, I know.
Screwed up my whole day. I was like,
still gonna have lunch with me,
I know, but that whole weekend got jacked.
I drove hundreds of miles to see. Okay, actually, I didn't, but I drove miles and miles to see you, my friend. Actually, that I did. But could he drive 1.5 miles to see me?
No. Never.
Not the other way around. That's how it is. $7,000 says he wants to go to lunch with. Hit Joe up in Temecula. I still got to go to Darren. I still got to go to that pizza place. I know that pizza place. I was supposed to go to when I was in San Diego. If I go again, I will reach out to you, Darren, and get that taken care of. He says he wants steak and shrimp. There are two things in this town that's not at a loss: steak and shrimp. But JSJ,
like it.
Yes, JSJ, Serge, $7,000. Great to have you here this early in the morning. Truly appreciate it. Ralph D, everyone out there, cannot thank you enough. If you know someone in your life that likes talking Lakers, there's no better place to go than right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. Scotch.